There is something deeply exhausting about living a life that does not feel like yours. You wake up, follow the same routines, say the same things, smile at the same people, and somewhere beneath all of that, there is a quiet but relentless voice that whispers something is wrong. Not wrong in the way that problems have solutions. Wrong in the way that a house built on the wrong foundation feels wrong, structurally, silently, in a way you cannot point to, but cannot ignore. You have probably spent years trying to silence that voice. You tried staying busy, staying productive, staying surrounded by noise and distraction and the comfort of other people's certainty. And yet, the voice remains. It remains because it is not a symptom of failure. It is a symptom of truth. It is the part of you that has not yet been convinced to give up on freedom, the part that still remembers, even faintly, that your life was supposed to mean something you actually chose. Here is what no one tells you directly. Most of what you believe about yourself was never yours to begin with. The values you defend, the roles you inhabit, the story you tell about who you are and what you are capable of, almost none of it came from a moment of genuine self-determination. It came from repetition, from pressure, from the accumulated weight of other people's expectations settling on your shoulders so gradually that you stop noticing the burden. And the most disturbing part is not that this happened. The disturbing part is that there is a philosophical name for it, and it has been known for decades, and yet the world continues to build entire systems around, encouraging you to stay exactly where you are. Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith, and once you understand what it really means, you will never be able to look at your life the same way again. Sartre was not a comfortable philosopher, and he did not offer the kind of wisdom that feels warm and reassuring, the kind that tells you everything happens for a reason, or that the universe has a plan for your suffering. He offered something far more radical and far more unsettling. The truth that you are free, that you have always been free, and that every single lie you tell yourself to avoid confronting that freedom is an act of self-betrayal so profound it shapes every choice you make, every relationship you enter, every version of yourself you present to the world. He said we are condemned to be free, and that phrase is not poetic exaggeration. It is a precise description of the human condition. You cannot escape your freedom. You can only pretend that you have, and that pretending is what destroys you slowly from the inside in ways that feel like sadness, but are actually something much closer to a kind of philosophical suffocation. The first lie you must abandon is the lie that your nature defines your choices. How many times have you said or heard someone say, "That is just who I am," as if identity were a fixed object, as if the self were a stone that sits in one place and cannot be moved. Sartre's entire philosophical project begins with the rejection of this idea. His foundational claim, that existence precedes essence, means that you did not arrive in this world with a predetermined nature, a built-in purpose, a pre-written script for your life. You arrived first, and only through your choices, your actions, your engagements with the world, do you create whatever it is you are. There is no hidden self waiting to be discovered. There is only the self you are continuously constructing through what you do. When you say I cannot change because this is who I am, you are not describing a reality. You are choosing, right in that moment, to remain exactly where you are, and then disguising that choice as a fact of nature. That disguise is the first lie, and it costs you everything. The second lie is that other people's judgments determine your worth. Sartre explored this with devastating precision through what he called the look, the gaze of the other. That moment when you become aware of being seen and suddenly feel yourself reduced to an object in someone else's world. You know this feeling. It happens every time you change what you were about to say because someone might disapprove. It happens every time you dress for a version of yourself that you think will be accepted rather than the version that actually exists. It happens every time you perform confidence you do not feel or suppress joy that might seem excessive. The look of the other is powerful, and Sartre acknowledged its power, but he also made clear that surrendering your self-definition to that look is a choice, that you are not obligated to see yourself through someone else's eyes. When you do, you are choosing to be an object rather than a subject, choosing to live in someone else's story rather than your own. The second lie is that their verdict matters more than your own existence. It does not. And the cost of believing otherwise is a life spent auditioning for a role you never actually wanted. Before we go deeper into the remaining lies, there is something important that needs to be said here. And it is not a philosophical argument. It is a question. If you have ever felt like freedom was something that happened to other people, if you have ever looked at your life and felt that quiet, aching sense that you were living someone else's version of it, if you have ever caught yourself performing contentment while something inside you is screaming, then this video was made for you specifically, and I want to know that you are here. If any of this resonates, or if even one sentence has touched something you have been carrying silently for a long time, go to the comments right now and write this: I am ready to stop pretending. That is it. Just those 5 words. Because somewhere else in these comments, someone else who has been carrying the same weight is going to read what you wrote and feel, maybe for the first time in a long time, that they are not completely alone. Your words will not just be a comment. Oh, they will be an act of solidarity with every person who is quietly fighting the same battle. The third lie is that circumstances remove your responsibility. This is perhaps the most seductive lie of all, because it carries the most immediate emotional relief. When you say I had no choice, when you say the situation forced my hand, when you say anyone in my position would have done the same, you are reaching for the comfort of what Sartre called the spirit of seriousness. All the tendency to treat external conditions as absolute determinants of your behavior. And the relief it offers is real. It is genuinely easier to believe that your life is being shaped by forces outside your control. But Sartre was merciless on this point. Even in the most constrained circumstances, you retain the freedom to choose your response, your attitude, your interpretation of what is happening to you. He was not naive about the weight of circumstance. He knew that poverty, oppression, and violence create brutal conditions, but he maintained that even within those conditions, something irreducibly human remains: the capacity to choose how you orient yourself toward your situation. When you refuse that capacity, when you outsource your response to circumstance, you are not being realistic. You are abandoning yourself. The third lie is the most comforting, and it is the one that most reliably keeps you small. The fourth lie is that anxiety is a problem to be solved. In the modern world, anxiety is treated almost universally as a dysfunction, a disorder, a signal that something has gone wrong neurologically or psychologically. And while genuine clinical anxiety deserves care and treatment, Sartre described something different, something he called anguish, the specific kind of dread that arises not from danger, but from freedom. Anguish is what you feel when you truly realize, that there is no guarantee, that you could choose differently, that the person you are today is not inevitable, that the future is not written, and that you are entirely responsible for how it unfolds. Most people spend enormous energy avoiding this feeling. They fill their schedules, maintain their routines, defer to authorities, follow social scripts, because all of these behaviors reduce the terrifying openness of genuine freedom. But the anguish Sartre described is not an enemy. It is a compass. It appears precisely when you are standing at the edge of a real choice, a choice that matters, a choice that could actually change who you are. When you feel that particular vertigo, that is not a sign to retreat. That is a sign that you are finally close to something real. The fifth lie is the most invisible of all, and it may be the most important one to dismantle. The fifth lie is that there is time, not time in the abstract sense, but time in the way you use it as a justification for postponement, as a reason to remain in bad faith just a little longer, to wait until the conditions are better, the fear is smaller, the path is clearer. Sartre's philosophy exists entirely in the present tense. There is no version of authentic existence that begins tomorrow. Your project of being, the ongoing act of defining yourself through your choices, is happening right now, in every moment you choose to act or to stay still, in to speak or to remain silent, to accept or to refuse. Every moment of postponement is itself a choice. Every day you spend waiting to become the person you want to be is a day in which you are actively choosing not to be that person. The fifth lie is that the real version of your life is still somewhere ahead of you, waiting patiently while you finish being afraid. It is not. The real version of your life is this one. It is happening right now. And Sartre would tell you, with unflinching honesty, that you already know this. You have always known this. The lie is not that you forgot. The lie is that you keep pretending you did. What makes Sartre's philosophy genuinely transformative, and not merely intellectually interesting, is that it offers no escape route. Every other philosophical or spiritual tradition, at some point, offers you a place to rest, a doctrine to follow, a higher authority to submit to, a natural law to align with. Sartre closes every one of those doors, not cruelly, but honestly. He closes them because he believed that every door you enter to escape your freedom is a door that leads you further away from yourself. The discomfort his philosophy produces is not incidental. It is the point. The discomfort is the feeling of freedom pressing against all the walls you have built to contain it. And the moment you stop trying to make it go away, the moment you sit with it long enough to understand what it is asking of you, something changes. Not easily, not without grief. Because abandoning these 5 lies requires mourning the certainties they provided, the comfort of fixed identity, the relief of external validation, the excuse of circumstance, the distraction from anguish, and the illusion of infinite time. That grief is real, and it deserves to be honored. But on the other side of that grief is something Sartre called authenticity. And it is not a state of permanent joy or philosophical serenity. It is something quieter and more durable. The experience of living in full acknowledgement of what you are, a free being in an open world, responsible for the shape of your existence, capable of genuine choice, and no longer hiding from any of it. Authenticity does not eliminate fear. It transforms the relationship you have with fear. It does not make life certain. It makes you honest about the uncertainty. And that honesty, while that radical refusal to pretend, is the closest thing to liberation that Sartre believed a human being could actually reach. If this video moved something in you, if it cracked open a question you have been avoiding, or named something you have been feeling without words, please take 1 second to press the like button. Not as a formality, but because these ideas deserve to reach the person who is lying awake tonight, running exactly these thoughts through their mind, without knowing that philosophy already mapped this territory. Your like is the difference between that person finding this video or not. And if you want to keep exploring this territory, because there is so much more to Sartre, to authenticity, to the specific ways his philosophy illuminates the things we suffer most quietly, then subscribe to this channel. Every video here is built for the person who senses that something important is being left unexamined in the way they are living, who wants more than comfort, who is willing to trade easy answers for honest ones. This channel was created for you, and the next video is already waiting.